You want to do a little basketball too, right?
We are live. How about you, everybody? Welcome into this week's edition of the Auburn Live Call-In Show. I'm your host, Jeffrey Lee, Senior Recruiting Editor for Auburn Live on 3. If you're not a member of that site, there's a steal right now, and we won't even press charges. $10, Cole. $10 for 4 months. $2.50 a month, folks. Less than a gallon of gas. Jump on it now. You will not be disappointed. As a matter of fact, you're going to wish you had this subscription a little bit later, and it's going to cost a little bit more. So jump on it now. $10 for $4. Go check us out. What'd I say? $10 for 4 months.
Yes.
Right? Is that right? $10 for 4 months. All right.
You want to say $10.
$10 for $4 is the kind of deal Jeff would have given me in high school. Give me 10, I'll give you 4 back.
$4 is
live on 3. Okay, let's see. Getting into the show. First of all, we got Keith joining us, Justin Hokinson, Zach in the back has come to the front, and Mr. Pink. How about you, fellas? How y'all doing this week?
Yes, sir. Doing pretty
good, man. How are you?
Fantastic, man. Got a lot to talk about this week. The basketball team has reached 20 wins and is on the bubble of the NCAA tournament. Football practice is in full swing. We've had recruits coming to the campus. And we want to hear from the caller. But before we do, real quick, man, I had 6 different people email me wanting to know who could sell their home in Auburn, Opelika, Lee County, who could show them some houses to buy. Well, here's the answer for you, folks. Jessica Andrus with the Talons Group, 334-704-4442, residential investment properties. She does it all, folks. 5-star realtor Jessica Andrus with the Talons Group, 334-704-4442. We've already got a caller, but before we get to him, man, Justin, give us a quick rundown, man, on some of the team happenings this week. What's kind of going on? Update everybody on where we are.
It's been a little bit of a slow week. I mean, so they got started, had 3 days of practice. Now they're going to take a week off with spring break. Those first couple of days is just trying to get into the flow. I think they got pads on maybe the last day on Friday. We got to talk to some of the coaches and some different people a couple of days. I think they're just getting into the flow. No real big news breakers. You know, we wrote about Keontae Scott and Donovan Kaufman battling at that nickel spot. Keontae is number 1 at nickel right now. We wrote a little bit about that. We wrote a little bit about Jalen Simpson moving to safety full time and how Zach Etheridge thinks he's a Sunday player. Cole wrote a little bit about Tate Johnson, who is somebody that Jake Thornton talked about making some strides at guard. We mentioned him, Tate, and, of course, Jeremiah Wright, Cameron Stutz, all kind of battling at that guard position. What else did we talk about? Tempo has been a little bit of a hot topic from both offensive and defensive players in terms of the speed of practice and what they're playing at. I thought that was interesting because, you know, we know the tempo Hugh Freeze is going to play with and Philip Montgomery is going to play with, or what they have played with. But they've also both admitted in the past that they've slowed things down a little bit and this and that. And so it sounds like right now it's fast pace, which is, you know, it's good. It'll get guys in shape. It certainly helps the defense. So when they go play an up tempo offense, they're used to it, things like that. So it sounds like tempo is a big part of what they're doing, maybe even more so than certainly what they're doing last year. I mean, they weren't doing tempo under Brian Harsin. We know that. So that's a little bit of a change as well. That's probably it. The other thing that we wrote about that I thought was interesting was Hugh Freeze talking about NIL. And he kind of brought something up that I've been thinking about and have had discussions. I'm sure you guys have had discussions too. And that is figuring out what the locker room looks like in terms of just your NIL culture. You've got all these players. I mean, NIL's out there and you're going to have players with deals and some better deals than others. And some guys won't have any deals. And so it's kind of interesting. He was sort of talking through how, like, it almost sounded like it was a transparent conversation, potentially even with the players. Like, they're going to be open talking about what do we want the locker room to look like? What do we want this to feel like? Like, we can't, as players, we can't go into the locker room and be mad that another guy has a better NIL deal than me, or that another guy has a deal and I don't have a deal. So it's interesting kind of listening to him talk about trying to navigate that NIL world within the locker room. It's something I've heard behind the scenes that is kind of a worry, right? Like if it gets out about a specific deal or how many guys on the team have deals. And then if you're a guy that doesn't have a deal, you feel left out. So it was just kind of interesting listening to him talk about that. I think he's given a lot of thought to what that looks like and how do we make sure that everybody's on the same page in terms of, hey, if they've got a better deal than you, or if they've got a deal and you don't, be happy for them. You're still on scholarship. Still a bunch of people would trade positions with you. And so it was just interesting. I think that's one of the battles he's fighting right now. And probably a lot of coaches are fighting right now, is how to set the culture when it comes to NIL. How do you make sure everybody's just happy for everybody else? No competition, no getting mad about this deal and that deal. So that was kind of interesting to listen to him talk about as well. Other than that, man, pads on Friday. They'll get this week off on spring break and then come back at it after a week off, and then we'll start to hear more. Pads are popping. Guys kind of get used to practice. We'll probably have a better idea of maybe some different people standing out, things like that.
What about basketball, Justin? Auburn took it to Tennessee yesterday inside Neville Arena. Got their 20th win of the season, a number 7 seed, I believe, in the SEC tournament. What are you hearing, big dog?
Well, that was a big win. I mean, for a lot of reasons. One, 20 wins is kind of a historical benchmark in college basketball. Like if you get to 20 wins, generally that means something. So that's the 5th time in the last 6 seasons they've reached 20 wins. I told the people on the board, like, do not take that for granted. One day you're going to be wishing you could get to 20 wins. Okay. So like, don't take that for granted. So that was big. It was a big win. If that win gets them into the tournament, which it should, I think Auburn's 32 in the net. Auburn's resume is good enough to get in the tournament. If it gets them in, then that win's a massive win to continue the NCAA tournament streak and to allow them to go to the tournament. That's going to be a big win that you look back in kind of Bruce Pearl's career at Auburn. Big win for the team, really dejected after some of those close road losses, which you can imagine. They had been sort of through the ringer. And so that was a big win, I think, just for them, for their psyche, to get over the hump and win that one. So it should be enough to get them in the NCAA tournament. They're the 7 seed. They'll play Arkansas at 6 o'clock Central on Thursday night. Arkansas is the 10 seed. What a disappointing year for Arkansas. I mean, they've got multiple first-round guys on that team, and they're the 10 seed in the tournament.
You hate to see it.
You hate to see it. And even when Nick Smith Jr. has come back, they haven't gotten any better. So, dangerous, super dangerous team, but they've lost 3 in a row. They're not playing that great. Honestly, Auburn has more momentum than them, and it's a game where you'd like to see Auburn go. You've already beat them once. It's a game where you'd like to see Auburn go take their business and win that game, but should be a really good one. The good thing for Auburn is Arkansas, while they're the 10 seed in the SEC, their net ranking's better. Like their net ranking's 16th or something. They played a really good schedule, and it's really high. So if Auburn were to lose that game, they're pretty much not going to fall at all in the KenPom and the net and all that stuff. They could even tick up a notch playing Arkansas, but basically it's a quad 1 game. So for Auburn, if they're in now, losing that game shouldn't affect them. It shouldn't bump them out when you lose a quad 1 game. If anything, winning that game should cement yourself in there, and then you're maybe can you tick up a seed? If you're a 9 seed, if you beat Arkansas and maybe beat A&M, can you be an 8 seed? So it's better than playing like Mississippi State. If they'd got somebody else, well, then there would have been a lot to lose on Thursday night. I don't think there's a lot to lose Thursday night. I think there's a lot to gain. And so, yeah, they're playing pretty well. I mean, my gosh, they're playing pretty good basketball. They just some games didn't go their way. But yeah, 20 wins, hopefully gets them in the NCAA tournament. And then it's about matchups. I saw CBSSports.com projects them in to be an 8 seed in Birmingham. Wouldn't that be something if they barely get into the tournament and then end up in Birmingham for the first round, which would be fantastic for Auburn fans. So,
Justin, help me understand something. Auburn's the 7 seed in the SEC tournament, and there are 14 teams.
Yes.
Why is 14 not playing 1, 13, 2, 12, 3, 11, 4, 10, 5, 9, 6, 7, 8?
They do a double. So they do the top 4 seeds get a double bye. And then the bottom 4 have to play Wednesday. So 11, 12, 13, 14 play Wednesday. The winners then are like, it's like if you win on Wednesday, you're kind of in the tournament. And then you play everybody Thursday. And then the top 4 seeds don't play until Friday. So Top 4 get a double bye. Bottom 4 have to play Wednesday to get in. Everybody else plays on Thursday. So if Auburn wins, they play A&M. The bottom half of the bracket is pretty tough. You have A&M down there. You have Kentucky down there. Arkansas, Auburn.
Hey, going back to spring, and we're going to get to the call after this, man.
Yeah.
We learned this the other day. It's kind of breaking news, I guess. I mean, it's at least some scoop. J.C. Hart was at practice the other day, making a move to wide receiver.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I didn't know that.
and he looks different, man. He looks a lot different. We've heard that on the board, but he looks like he's definitely heavier. There's no doubt.
Yeah, J.C. Hart, the 3-star defensive back from Lochapoka. Who else was there, Cole, besides J.C.? Some of the player signees. Deron Reed was there last week on Wednesday.
Yeah, right.
J.C. was there. Hell, Keith, you know who else I saw Friday night? Your boy Montravius Adams.
Oh yeah, he done slimmed up too.
He does.
I got to give Cole some credit. I think. Can y'all hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying. I'm a little further away. I never look as good on screen as you guys. I think I heard. I think Cole told me a long time ago that he was concerned that Cole. Correct me if I'm wrong. You were concerned whether J.C. Hart. You thought he was super athletic, but you didn't know if he had the hips and the back pedal to play DB, right?
Yeah, I mean, I thought maybe.
So in your head, you maybe, knew this was coming.
Yeah, it makes sense. I thought maybe he could beef up and maybe play like nickel or linebacker at some point because he's a tall, long, rangy guy. But this makes sense to me because if you watch his highlights, he's got a lot of offensive highlights and he makes some plays. I think it's a good
height without looking
like 6'1", 6'1", 6'2", somewhere.
And they got a bunch of DBs back. They just signed a bunch of DBs. It'd be easy to get lost in the shuffle back there, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's a good move. I think it's a great move.
And if he's 6'1", I haven't seen him. You've in person. You have. If he's 6'1" and has some length, Hugh Freeze talked a little bit about the receivers the other day, saying, "Hey, in this league, creating separation is very, very difficult, and so to get over that, length is important." So Nick Martner, the 6'6" guy, which he's very tall, very lean, but that guy's every bit of 6'6". Camden Brown, Landon King, Rivaldo Fairweather, and then, so you bring him in 6'1", kind of makes sense. Maybe some guy with a little bit of length so that because look, the quarterback situation, we don't know what that's going to look like. You better have some guys with length out there because you don't have Joe Burrow back there. Okay. So maybe it makes sense to move another guy over there with a little bit of length to try to help those receivers out.
It's funny that they talk about how hard it is to get separation, but every time you turn on an SEC game, you see a guy so open you don't see a DB even in the picture. And I've never seen that happen more than the last couple of years. Particularly watching a few schools in the SEC. One of them I know pretty well, and I've never seen guys just 30 yards open before. But yeah, he's a phenomenal athlete. I mean, I don't think there's any question about that. USC came in on him late, Southern Cal, and special athlete. You can't coach that part of it, as they said.
I think the big thing with him, Keith, Justin, if he'd have run that 4.3 at that camp and he was 5'10", 180, I don't think he gets offered because he's so raw, right? I think, yes, he ran that 4.3, but they looked at him and go, man, that he's got some serious potential if he's running that fast and he's that long, So that was a big deal. And, I mean, Hugh Freeze said that, I think, in after signing day when he did his press conference. Like, he might play receiver. He could play DB. We'll see. So, good move.
Hey, Zach, get us to the phone line, big. I'm sorry to the caller who's been on hold. We can't shut up sometimes.
2428. You're live. Who are we talking to? Where are you calling from?
This is Johnny Caldwell calling from Sharpsburg, Georgia.
Okay.
What's up, Johnny Caldwell?
Hey, man, just want to know from Cole Pinkston, what kind of blocking schemes are we going to be running?
It's a good question.
And also, would like for Justin, does the boosters and everything, can they sit there and donate to the collective and everything?
To NIL, onto Victory.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, on the NIL.
Yeah.
You better hope they do.
Yeah. That's most of the donations so far,
Well,
honestly, have been
That's what I'm
boosters.
hoping for.
Yeah.
Johnny, you going to get in there?
Sir?
You going to get in there, and how many million are you going to give away?
Hey, if I can hit that Georgia lottery, I sit there and buy the best team we could have.
Well, we need a sponsor for the show too, right, Jeff? We need another one, you know.
Hey, but if I had it, I'd give it.
I like it, Johnny.
I'm a poor old truck driver.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir.
Hey, man, listen, Johnny, I grew up
in California during that snowstorm.
Oh,
my goodness.
My sister and brother are out there. Hey, I had a CB radio when I turned 16. So I know all the lingo. Big respect to the truck drivers, man.
Well, I appreciate that.
All right, Cole, blocking schemes. What can Johnny expect to see?
Yeah, well, first of all, Johnny, I think the Auburn football fan base is pulling for you on the lottery now. But yeah, blocking schemes. I think. Well, we know that he's RPO heavy, which means run pass option. He's got all these plays that are pre-snap reads, and the RPOs can be any kind of scheme, really. We've seen. I've looked at his Liberty film, and you've seen counter, power, zone. I think it'll be more zone heavy, personally. The reason I say that is because even though the offensive line is going to be a little bit better, they made some strides in trying to fix that up. Zone schemes are what you do when you cannot overpower people, and I think that's what they're going to do mostly, zone scheme.
Hey, is he still on there?
No.
Okay. Hey, good stuff, Johnny.
Thanks, Johnny.
The call. I tell you what, Justin, on the NIL on to victory. Do we have anybody else, Zach?
No, that's it.
Justin slipped something in there. I think it needs repeating. Most of the donations OTV is getting is from big boosters. The subscriptions, Justin, not doing as well.
Not doing well. I would say, to try to, like, I guess, be fair in their defense, I think it's not what they hoped, but also, like, this is also new. So maybe their expectations are out of whack, or maybe their expectations were right on and they are underwhelming. I don't know. Maybe they set their expectations really high, but for what they wanted to see, it's not what maybe they thought to this point. It's a lot of, it's a lot of big donors. And then I think it's just still new. Fans are just trying to figure out, like, okay. And plus, look, the NIL is so new. Like, if I were to sign up as a fan, I mean, I would challenge on to victory. And if they hear this, what do I get? What am I getting? I guess if you go land a kid, I'm going to assume maybe I helped, but past that, I don't, what am I getting from it? So I think there's a disconnect a little bit there too. I know they're launching a podcast to try to create some discussion and conversation back and forth. And
is that Jason Campbell?
Yeah, Jason will host it. So maybe that'll get fans more involved. But I think that's the disconnect for fans. It's like, okay, if I give, what now what? What am I? Do I have a message board? Do I get news? Do I get an interview? Do I get access? What do I get?
Jeff, can I jump in real quick?
Sure.
I wonder if there's also external. There's got to be external factors. I mean, Jeffrey and Cole, and Justin, you guys, if the economy, there's uncertainty and the market's dropping and there's all that, everybody's making a choice, right? And how much money do I have now? And how much money do I think I'm going to have in 3 months and 6 months? And I've had multiple people tell me with regards to other things in life, there's a little bit, and by the way, we have to sell subscriptions with what we do.
Sure.
And when the economy's humming and when people feel good about the stock market, it's a little bit different. It's a little easier to sell subscriptions. And I wonder if that plays, and I'm not an economist, but I just wonder if there are other external factors. It might not be anything that On to Victory is doing wrong, quite frankly, although, Justin, that is a good point. What do you get besides just?
It's almost like a chicken and egg, though, right? Because they want something, but OTV is going, well, what do you want us? What money do you want us to use to buy you that pullover or that hat or to send you that autograph? So we're going to have to take money out of our budget to send all these new. And I think it was as low as $34 a month, if I'm not mistaken. And real quick to finish it off, OTV, they went on this campaign if they wanted to raise $30 million in 3 years, and if I'm not mistaken, they're a year into it. and have over Justin a little bit more than half. Is that what you're hearing?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah,
So it's not like they're not thriving. They're on pace. Let's put it that way. They're ahead of schedule when it comes to 30 for 3.
Yeah.
But Keith, you've talked about this every time we talk. Is it sustainable? Can this guy who gives $5 million this year, can he afford to do that next year and the next year?
Well, what about what just happened at Miami? So they got their big benefactor that's been putting all the money into their NIL stuff. The NCAA got him for having a dinner that he wasn't supposed to have with a couple female basketball recruits. It doesn't sound like much, but does that scare him now that, hey, are they watching me? And how closely? And do other benefactors around the country say, wait a second, they're watching him. Are they going to be watching me too? I mean, I'm talking to people that would be giving large chunks. There's so much uncertainty. I mean, I'm not even close to getting my arms around this thing. Not even close.
All right, Zach, get us back to the call line, big dog.
9993. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, this is Mike from Auburn. And I just want to tell you guys I really enjoy your program and all your input.
Appreciate you, Mike.
Quickly, maybe this for Jeffrey. I was at the basketball game yesterday, and I hung around to see Bruce Pearl's interview on the radio, and it seemed like they were 5 or 6 prospects there that he was taking a lot of time and talking to. I know one of them was the big Marshall kid from Marietta. It's hard to miss him. And I think the young man from Mobile was there. I was wondering if we might find out who the other 2 or 3 kids there. And then on the football side, I'd heard that Amon Lane, our commitment, had won the 60-meter dash in the state championship. Had y'all heard anything about that? And also about Marcus Davis, about how many wide receivers you think he might, sign in this class.
What was the second question? Oh, Amon Lane. Keith?
Yeah.
You saw that. Cole, you saw Amon Lane. Yeah. I think he ran under a sub 11 second 100. Was that him?
No, you're talking about Jaden Lewis ran a 10.83 or he posted, but Amon Lane ran one state in the 60-meter, and I don't know his time. I can't remember his time. But I wrote the story on him, and I'm looking it up. He actually has the record for Moody High School now in the 100-meter, the 60-meter, and the 200-meter. So,
wow.
The dude is a blazer.
So you got 3 commitments. He's super fast. Jaden Lewis just ran a 10.83, like Cole said. And he said, hey, look, I hadn't even really warmed up. I haven't even got into track season yet. If you're running a 10.83 in late February, early March, you could be a 10.7, 10.6.5 guy by the end of the season. And then don't forget Walker White, their quarterback. He's fast. He's probably a sub 4.6 guy. Would you think, Cole?
Oh, yeah. I think he's up there. Yeah.
There's a definite – I don't know about you guys. I've definitely noticed that they're and all the guys – a lot of the guys they're recruiting. I mean, you say obviously every team wants speed, but – guys they're in with are fast guys.
Yeah. J.C. Hart, who now weighs about 190. That's a fast guy, too. Hey, I wanted to add, too, about Amon Lane at the Under Armour camp in Atlanta last Sunday, or Carrollton, Georgia. Amon got some serious one-on-one time with former NFL, former Alabama safety Roman Harper. And Roman Harper was coaching up the DBs. And he took some time with Amon, and I even talked to him afterward. And his dad, Roman's dad, was helping out, who I actually had a little connection with back in Prattville. And he was telling me, man, look, a guy like Amon Lane, he has got so much talent. Like, I could see it from a mile away. He's good on his brakes. He's fast. He's compact. He can hit you. He said, I just need him to loosen up just a touch, and he's going to be really good for Auburn one day.
Is there anybody he reminds you of, Cole? I've been trying to think. Is he like Tim Irvin? Is he like
Tim Irvin? I hadn't thought about that guy in a long time.
Tim Irvin.
Maybe,
wow.
If you're talking about guys that have been successful at Auburn, maybe Jonathan Jones comes to mind. Now, I don't know if he's going to have that kind of success, but he's built similarly, and he's sort of that quiet guy. Maybe he breaks in and starts to make some plays. If you look back, Jonathan Jones actually did make some plays. He just, for whatever reason, was one of the more quiet guys, and now he's probably one of the most successful guys in recent years in the NFL. So
He's
maybe
also on
that's a
a
good
bad
comparison.
team.
Yeah, that's true too. Rudy Ford, kind of the same way.
Tim Irvin. Hey, Mike, the Hoops visitors, LeBaron Philon was there. He had some teammates with him. No one of note. But those were the other guys with him. LeBaron Philon and some former AAU teammates. Nobody else of note besides Philon. And if you saw Peyton there,
I mean,
I hadn't heard he was there, but I heard LeBaron was there with his former teammates.
Jeff, is Peyton going to be like? I mean, I'm starting to think of the biggest, tallest, and whitest guys I can remember 40 years of watching SEC basketball. John Hot Plate Williams, Stanley Roberts. I mean, this guy looks like he's Dimitri Hill. This guy looks like he's bigger than all those guys.
You're forgetting the biggest guy.
Who am I thinking? Who?
The Wizard, the Genie, Big Shaq.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say he's like one click shy of Shaq almost.
But Shaq was 7'1", 245 in college.
Yeah.
This guy's huge.
Yeah, he needs to drop a few lbs.
What is Peyton's? Is that Peyton's size that you just said, Keith?
No, that was.
I'm gonna look Peyton up.
That was Shaq's size in college.
Yeah.
Okay, my big.
So what is Peyton right now? He's like 7 foot 340, right?
Dude, I wish
He's
y'all.
not 340. When I talked to him a couple weeks ago, he said he was just a little bit above 300, but the coaches want him to be 280, 275.
He's listed at 310, or he was listed at 310. 7 feet tall, 310 pounds.
That is a big dude, man.
And the last guy I can think of at Auburn that was just big, and I think he was 6'7" or 6'8", but Simeon Bowers was just big. You know what I mean?
That's tiny compared to this guy, though.
Right.
What about
That's the closest
from the center from like the Final Four team? Was it Austin?
Austin Wiley. Yeah, that was.
He was a big dude.
Yeah.
How big do you think Shaq was at LSU? Do you think he was 7 feet 310?
No. He was thin. If you look at his old video, and I had a chance to see him play, Jeffrey, and I'm sure some of you guys might have too. He was like 7'1", 7'7", and maybe 240. He was ripped in college. The guy that was huge was the guy next to him. Remember, Stanley Roberts and him were on the same team.
Yeah.
Stanley Roberts was the overweight one. He was the one that was like 280, 290.
Wow.
The LSU site listed Shaq 7'1", 294.
Oh, wow. I never would have guessed that.
But he looks. I mean, look how little he. So Peyton Marshall is bigger than he is now, or an inch shorter, but 15 pounds heavier.
I can't imagine he was 290. That's wow.
And Peyton Marshall, that's his size when he was probably 17 years old.
Well, he's done a good job of losing some weight. He's worked hard, and he's already got Auburn's weight plan. The strength and conditioning staff at Auburn's already sent him a very detailed and specific regiment in terms of not just eating but working out. So he is working out as if Damon Davis was there working him out. Hopefully he is.
Well, I remember that day I saw him at that football game. I was like, that is I've got to know who that is immediately. That's an offensive tackle if I've ever seen one.
Zach, do we have anybody else on hold? Good. Justin, well, hey, you had a post the other day. It was the turnover of the basketball roster, kind of what you were thinking could happen.
Yeah.
We know Auburn's got to sign Aiden Holloway, a point guard, signed in the 2023 class. We don't think they're going to do anything else high school wise there. 2024 has, is it three commitments now? Is that right?
Sounds right.
You got LeBaron Philon. You've got the kid from
Pettiford.
Tahad Pettiford, LeBaron Philon,
and
Peyton. They got 3 commitments. All right, Justin, talk us through that because I think that's interesting, man. We're getting to the end of the season. Hell, what can I expect? What am I looking for Auburn to do at the end of this season as far as adding? We've got Aiden Holloway on commitment list. What else should I be looking to cover?
Yeah, and I was trying to get the exact numbers on the roster. But, I mean, basically I think you've got some seniors that have got to make decisions. Jalen Williams is a senior. Alan Flanagan's a senior.
With the COVID, right? They got an extra.
Right, with COVID. Zep doesn't. Zep's played 14 years of college basketball. Zep might, by the way, we'll see. I think Zep has expressed some interest in being a grad assistant. I don't know if that'll work out. I don't know, but he seems like a perfect candidate to hang around and try to start getting into coaching. Like him hanging around the program, if he got into that, would be awesome, by the way. But yeah, I mean, you got some guys that got to make decisions. Bruce Pearl actually kind of hinted earlier this week. He said some guys will leave and some guys might come back. I think Jalen Williams will be back. I think they'll do anything they can to make sure he comes back. I don't know about Alan Flanagan. I don't know about Stretch in terms of seniors. And then you've got a guy like KD Johnson who, is coming off the bench. What's his role? What does he feel? Is he happy with his role? What would his role be next year if Auburn goes into the portal a little bit? So I think KD Johnson's a guy that's up in the air. And so the way I see it is I think there's some guys that could leave. I think you could be looking at like 5 spots with Aiden Holloway. I think you could be looking at still going out there and getting a decent transfer class. I think that Bruce Pearl and that staff could go out there and target 3 to 5 transfers. Again, depending on what happens with the rock. Can they find, like, let's just say, this is me. Let's say hypothetically with KD, they're like, hey, KD, here's what the roster is going to look like next year. What do you think? I mean, I think you're probably, do you think maybe, and he says, yeah, but then they mutually find a new home for him. Cool. But that's going to be important too, because BP is not about booting guys. He's not just going to push a guy out into the street and say, good luck.
Appreciate you.
Try to find a home for him. It's got to kind of be a mutual thing. If the kid's like, I don't want to go anywhere, and then it's tough. So, but I think 3 to 5 transfers is possible.
Do you think however many people, the open seats, the open spots, the open scholarships, 13 in basketball, let's say Auburn loses 4 or 5, you got Aiden Holloway. Do you think the rest of those spots will be filled with transfers?
Probably. I mean, unless like Wesley Yates becomes an option. He's 23, right?
Yes.
Or unless one guy we've talked about is Badunga, whatever you say his name,
Flory Badunga.
Unless, which I don't think, but there's at least I heard a snippet that maybe he's a reclassified guy, and if that, then Auburn would still have to get him. But anyway, so maybe another high school again. But yeah, it sounds like 3 portal guys seems very likely. 5 is possible. Yuan is a guy that we don't know. I'm just sort of speculating that if Janai Broom comes back and Jalen Williams comes back and you're Yuan Traore, probably feel like he could probably find another spot to go play immediately. So that's just, he could stay, but I think he'd go if he's staring at Janai and Jalen coming back and Dylan. I think Yuan probably would move on. I think Chance will stay. I don't think Auburn likes both those guys, despite what people think. I mean, Auburn likes both those guys, and they really think Yuan's upside's big. He just might not have a spot or feel like he can play. I think Chance will come back. So, yeah, I think 3 to 4 to 5 transfer portal guys is possible. But again, what's the portal class look like? I don't know, and I don't know exactly what they need. Do they need 3 shooters? You got Aiden, you got Wendell, so like you're not bad at point guard. You got Trey, you got 3 point guards. So I don't know what their needs are, but yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see how they deal with the roster, who gets off, and then where do you go? I mean, I think it's gonna be super, super, super fluid.
Stretch,
really fluid situation.
So the only guy who's out of eligibility off of this roster, off of these 13 scholarships, is Zepp.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So one he will go. Aiden will come in. So they're even right now. They're square. So to bring anybody else in this 2023 class, somebody's going to have to leave. So however many people transfer out is however many Auburn is going to bring in. As Justin said, is going to be transfers unless Wesley Yates, the shooting guard from Texas, Beaumont, Texas, who signed with Washington. Washington's could potentially fire their coach if that happens, and Wesley Yates wants out of a scholarship, NLI. That's a lot of things would have to happen for that kid to end up at Auburn. And Flory Badunga, the 2024, I think he's the number 5 overall, he's a top 10 overall. Yeah. He's a big ass dude. Yeah. He could reclassify. Other than that, that's the only high school guys we're aware of. Other than that, anybody that leaves will be replaced with transfers.
And I think they get, I don't know for sure, but Bruce mentioned, and I totally had forgotten about it, that I think they get a scholarship back, because they had been self-imposing.
Oh,
I think they get one back coming in.
You think they're at 12 right now?
I think I don't have it pulled up, but I think they might be at 12 because he mentioned getting that back, and I'd forgotten that they were self-imposing -1.
Yeah.
the last couple of
right.
years. Yeah, it's going to be really it's going to be a mix of can we find, if you want to make a roster change, can we find a home for some of these guys, combined with, okay, who's available, what makes the most sense. I just think it's going to be interesting, but there for sure will be there's got to be, not just from a talent standpoint, but just the dynamic of this roster is not awesome. It's just in a lot of ways, it's not awesome. And so there's got to be a little bit of a shakeup on the court and off the court.
I agree. Zach, we clear?
Yeah, no
Okay,
college.
good, because I wanted to turn to some football recruiting, Cole. The dead period lifted Tuesday at midnight. Auburn had Joseph Phillips in on Wednesday, had 5 or 6 guys on Friday. You talked to Ricardo Jones. You talked to – who else did you talk to?
Talked to Malik Blockton. Talked to
Tevis Metcalf. Yeah. I think that was
Hey,
Justin. It. Hey, we appreciate you, big dog. That was good stuff.
Yeah, I think we kind of split it. So those were the guys I think I talked to.
I thought the biggest thing coming out of that, Cole, that Friday was Egan Boyer.
Mm-hmm.
The 3-star top, and then two offensive tackles from North Carolina. You had Ethan Callaway.
Yes.
Big. He was a big old dude, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. I was impressed that he, kind of quietly got there, and we didn't know much about him beforehand. And now
hadn't heard his name until Friday morning.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Keith. There's your surprise that you keep talking about too.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with Keith on that. I think there's going to be a lot of those this spring and summer, because we know maybe 50 guys or so that are on their boards. But as Keith says, as y'all say, the board changes all the time, and it's changing right now as we speak, for the spring and summer period coming up. And guys like that, if they can get some interest in them, they're going to show up and then see the new facility. They got that helping them out a little bit. That doesn't hurt at all. Having that practice in the indoor was cool, by the way. I think they enjoyed that.
Sorry, but some guys don't post their offers either. They don't share their offers to the world, so we don't know. And then you have guys that are committed. Jeffrey broke the story of the Georgia DB commit the other day that's going to visit Auburn. What's his name? Jalen
Hayward.
Yeah, you cut off the screen for a second there. I'm like, oh God, I got to look this up. So you broke that. So now that kid, I'll tell you a funny story. He apparently, he's going to visit Auburn. I don't know what date. I can't remember what you said, Jeffrey, but he apparently was at Florida yesterday, and they had an open media window, and some of the writers spotted him there. And one of them wasn't sure, so they hit him up and said, "Hey, are you at Florida right now?" And the kid said, "No, I'm not there." And it absolutely 100% was him.
Oh wow!
And when he left the building, all the reporters spotted him, and he put on his hood and tried to scurry away. But what's weird about that, Jeffrey, is he retweeted our story saying he was visiting Auburn. So it's weird. These are the kind of things that pop up. We didn't even know that kid was on Auburn's radar and vice versa until last week. And, and then guys that we thought they were in love with a month ago, and I talked to a couple of kids today, they ain't even heard much from them. But the board it's always changing,
It is. I think it's changing a lot right now, personally. Just from what I've gathered, even talking to those guys last weekend at the Under Armour camp, who was hearing more from them, who wasn't. I think they're going to start making some moves on some guys that are up there, like Daniel Calhoun. He talked to me and he was like, "Look, I know they weren't in my top 10, all that stuff, but they are hounding me about visiting. So, can they get in there with some of these guys? They're going to try. It won't be for lack of trying, that's for sure."
I could be dead wrong. I covered the Under Armour camp today, just outside of Orlando. Now, not every top player in Florida was there, so it wasn't quite the turnout that you had up at Georgia one. Wasn't even close to it. But there were a lot of kids there, and some targets. But it doesn't seem like they're recruiting the state of Florida as heavily as they have been.
No.
Couple things. I think it's a down year in Florida. So you go where the talent is. And right now, offensive linemen, you ain't going to find too many of them in Florida. You're going to find them in the Carolinas. So they're going to the Carolinas.
Yeah. You love them Carolina linemen, don't you, Keith?
That's right. Well, defensive line, Carolinas, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, all 4 of those states. And that's where they're going. So they're going where the talent is. But also, I think, and I don't know if you guys look, maybe we think we know more than we really know. It feels like, one, they're going where the talent is, but two, I think Hugh Freeze wants to reassert Auburn and Alabama and Georgia. And then they have all the links to Mississippi, and it's a strong year in Mississippi. Right. So to me, hey, guys, it's time to start winning some battles in Georgia again. It's time to keep guys from leaving the state that need to be guys that stay here. Those days are over. And so I just weren't as many guys in Florida as I'm used to talking to down here. But again, it's not a super strong class down here either. So, and now as I say that, watch 20 kids from Florida will visit the next 2 weeks.
This was recruiting too, and we didn't get this. Mike from Auburn had those questions, and I think he asked about wide receivers and how many.
That's right.
How many Marcus Davis might sign this year? Probably going to be a pretty big class.
Yeah,
I mean, I would think at least 3.
Yeah, I think minimum would be 2. Yeah, I count for the portal now. You never know what they're going to do with that.
Yeah, I hear you.
But yeah, 3 or 4 would probably be more likely, or at least ideal.
It seems like a moving target too, because they still have a lot of receivers on the roster.
Yeah, they do.
So it's but people transfer, people quit, people, what kind of attrition potential is there too? What kind of guys, when you see a lot of guys leave, and you guys know this, and everybody following that or listening that follows closely, it's not when there's a coaching change made, it's after the first season.
Yeah.
People realize that this ain't working out.
Yeah.
Man. Or I miss my old guys, and that kind of thing. So
they gave it a chance. And
yes, they gave it. Perfect way. It's the best way I've heard it described right there. So, 3 to 4 sounds like a good number. I talked to a kid today, that Chance Robinson down at Fort Lauderdale.
Oh yeah.
He says he's going to visit Auburn this spring, but he didn't have a date. A lot. Yeah. They all have dates for other visits. And
he's 2024.
He also said his plan is to officially visit Auburn, but he also strikes me as the kind of kid that's just really nice to everybody. So I can't get a real read on him. LJ McCray, a guy that Cole pointed out to me, a defensive lineman from Daytona Beach, he is trying to visit Auburn this spring, and they got a shot at an official visit with him as well. Really good looking body on him. And I'll say this too. I'm hearing a lot of Florida State buzz on him. Oh. So Auburn's got to work at it. There just wasn't as much. Chase Malamala, the offensive tackle who visited Auburn in January, he competed. I mean, he's got the body. He's just got to get the toughness and all that stuff down. One piece of information, he said that Jake Thornton, he was really close to Joe Bernardi. The assistant offensive line coach who just left for Troy. And congratulations to him, obviously.
Yeah.
I know, Jeffrey, you think really highly of him. But Chase said that Jake Thornton, Auburn's new offensive line coach, is going to come down and visit him. And can I come down and visit him in the spring? I'm sorry, and watch him in person. Can I say one more thing? I was talking to a parent today, and they were saying that they took their kid to a school recently. And I don't want to name the school, and they said, well, the offensive line coach is only like 29. I go, wait a second, Auburn's offensive line coach is only 29, and the mom said, yeah, but he's got his what together.
Really?
I thought that was an interesting comment. They were kind of, I don't want to say the schools or the parent or whatever, but it was kind of like this guy was a young guy, this other guy, and he just was
a little over his head.
Yeah, he was, but Thornton is young and relatable, but has the I don't know what the word is, the mental maturity. I don't know.
Mentality, yeah.
Like of a guy that's like 40, 45.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree.
Yeah. When I met him 2 or 3 times, and then I learned that he was 29, I thought, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah,
he's
right.
Shit. When I was 29,
sure than we were.
Zach, you got somebody?
Yeah, we got a caller.
Oh,
right.
Sorry.
2428. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Johnny again. Who's going to be our go-to wide receiver this year? And also on the offensive line, I heard about Tate moving to guard. Do y'all think he's going to make a spot there?
Yep, good stuff, Johnny. Matter of fact, he was running with the ones at right guard. Is that right, or left guard?
Yeah, he's at left guard. I
He's
believe.
at left. Yeah,
but Jeremiah Wright wasn't with that group for whatever reason. And again, now listen, these are drills, right?
Right.
These are not. We don't get to see the team stuff where they're actually doing reps against the defense and that kind of stuff. We're not seeing that. We're seeing little half stuff and drills and things that they're doing beforehand. So that just means he was up there first. Okay, that doesn't mean he's going to be the guy necessarily, but it is a pretty good indicator that he's up there. He's one of those veteran guys, and he's got a shot. So definitely a shot.
The go-to wide receiver, Johnny. I'm sticking with my boy Camden Brown. I think some other options: Cole, Keith, Zach.
I can't go off of Javaris Johnson.
Yeah,
I think he's probably the guy this year. I think Amari Kelly is my next guy though that I really think is going to start moving up that depth chart as we get into the season. Maybe even before. And it's not just because they put out a hype video and he made some good catches. I've seen that guy several times when he was a recruit in high school. Thought he was the real deal. Still do. I still think he's going to be good.
Shit, he had a great year last year.
Yeah, he had a good freshman year.
Zach, you disagree?
No, I'm with Cole on that. It's hard to go against him just because he's been here the longest. He's kind of had the most success out of the wide receiving group. But I'm interested to see Mardner, though, because I've heard that he just looks so big and he's such a mismatch on smaller corners that they can put him in good positions. And also him emerge as a red zone guy, because I don't think we've had a really dominant red zone guy that we can just throw the ball and trust him to go get it in a long time here. And that could be huge.
Johnny, I'm going to throw something else. I know this guy's technically a tight end, but Friday night I asked somebody who has seen every second of every practice so far this spring, and I asked about Rivaldo Fairweather, and I got the
great one.
Good
pick. I was thinking about him too.
Top 3 in receiving for us this year. I really do think
you know what I think makes him so. What it gives him such a good shot to be good at Auburn these days, and I agree with Zach. They need a guy in the red zone, a goal line type guy. I think Landon King kind of showed he can possibly be that guy. But at the same time, those are kind of low percentage plays when you think about it. Those throw ups to the fade, whatever, to the corner, whatever you want to call it, they can be good for you. But if you have a big guy who can run too, watch out. Now you got something. This guy can outrun linebackers. He can bully, DBs. I'm just curious if he's just going to be a full-time tight end. He's going to be a slot guy too. I think there's so many ways they could use that guy.
Just on paper, if you've got
go ahead.
Just on paper, if you've got Rivaldo Fairweather, Camden Brown, Javaris Johnson, and one other guy on paper, that's a pretty damn good little group.
Yeah,
not bad. Jay Fair,
my guy. I think when we think of Hugh Freeze, we think of tall receivers.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Big part of what he likes, but that means that underneath stuff. I think there's some like Ryan Davis type potential.
I hear you.
48 catches, 745 yards, something like that. Who knows? We thought it could be last year. Of course, who's going to be the one throwing the ball? We don't.
Yeah. Great question.
That's the question that really needs to be answered first. Right now, it's either going to be TJ Finley or Robbie Ashford or Holden Gerner. Still looking to see what Auburn's going to do at quarterback after the spring. I think we all agree we would be more surprised if Auburn didn't bring in a transfer quarterback.
I'd be surprised.
Yeah, I think we all would. Hugh's not going to come out and say it. If he's even leaving the possibility open, then that ought to tell you a lot. That says a lot.
Well, Jeff, don't you think just for numbers purposes? Yeah. Because if TJ doesn't win the job, everybody thinks he's leaving anyway, right? And if Holden's third string, does he?
There might be two.
Third string. You got Walker White coming in next year, maybe
Hank Brown as well.
I mean, you just don't know.
But if TJ leaves, you've got one guy with college experience.
Yep.
A redshirt freshman and a true freshman.
Mm-hmm.
So you might even bring in two. You might even bring in somebody who you think can compete immediately for the starting job. Maybe two. Really kind of do an Ole Miss, right?
Jeff, do you think they need to bring in like a guy competing for the job and then like a Grant Lloyd type? So remember, Maryland had all these guys get hurt and they were having to play a linebacker at quarterback. That's what you don't want to have happen, right?
Wow. That's awesome. That's kind of awesome at the same time, but no, you don't want that.
Was it South Carolina that had to play like the graduate assistant or something?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Jason Brown, wasn't that his name?
Had to go
he's
suit
in
up.
Texas State now.
Oh, yeah?
That's very interesting deal there. He played against Auburn. I think he quarterbacked a win against that one, that guy.
Yeah.
So can I ask you guys, would it surprise you if Auburn's leading receiver is not on the team right now?
Ooh, it would.
It would surprise me. Why? Do you think there's a possibility he's not?
I think there's a possibility with the spring transfer portal that they go and get. If there's someone who comes out who just looking for a new place, they can come in and compete immediately. Because if you never know, because Hugh Freeze talked about it, that if he comes out of practice, if he doesn't think he has a guy at wide receiver, because wide receiver is so important for his scheme, I don't see why they don't make a big push for a really, really experienced guy when that second transfer portal window opens.
Keith, he even told us that, didn't he, Keith? One more wide receiver.
I wonder, and again, this is just total spitball. And Jeffrey, you got more sources down there than me. What if, hypothetically speaking, you feel really good about your tight end room, not as great about your receiver room, and so everybody thinks, oh, you move Landon King to could Rivaldo Fairweather be just a receiver only? I don't know.
You could.
I don't know. But
Hugh Freeze told us, Keith, on Inside the 20 a couple of weeks ago that there were 3 positions he still wanted transfers to fill. That was wide receiver, linebacker, and interior offensive line. Maybe on the quarterback, which again, he's not going to come out and say, hell yeah, we need a quarterback. I'm going to get one. Because what does that do to the guys on your team? But wide receiver, Zach, was one of the first positions, if not the first one he mentioned to us, Keith. Wide receiver. Need another one.
Good call. Good call.
Dog going bananas outside here, but you hear him?
Yeah. Hey, if you want to get in, folks, we're going to have the call lines open for another 6 minutes. Give us a call, man. Johnny Caldwell is MVP right now.
Yeah, man.
Mike Auburn, he's not far behind, but Johnny's got a 2-to-1 ratio. Auburn's going to take off this week of spring break. No practices. They might bring in a recruit, but Hugh Freeze is urging these coaches to take this week off to go enjoy some time with the family. They haven't been off at all since they started. It's been recruiting, practice, recruiting, speaking engagements, and he has made it clear that he wants these guys to take some downtime this week and really go and rest up and get recharged to come back the following week, which is – let's see if today's March. So March the 13th, 15th, and 17th. Those are going to be a huge week for Auburn. Those 3 practices, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. The 17th, we believe, is a first big scrimmage of the spring. And Keith and Cole both, the visitor list that we have going on the corner, our message board at Auburn Live on 3, it seems like every other day it's adding. That March 17th is going to be a big day for Auburn football and probably even bigger for recruiting.
Well, can I say about that? So if a kid in Atlanta is going to go visit Southern Cal, they're going to have a date. They're going to have a date. They got to get a plane. They got to do all that. So one thing I've noticed is you don't see a ton of kids giving us the dates. They're like, oh, I'm going to visit. I just don't have the date yet. Because Auburn, by sort of being in the middle of nowhere, is actually close to everything, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
And so I think it's more of in other words, I think the visitors list is just going to triple and quadruple over the next couple of weeks because kids know that they can, on a Tuesday, they can decide that Thursday is the day I'm going to Auburn. They can't do that. They're going to Ohio State or whatever,
It's like Joseph Phillips last week. It wasn't like he tweeted out, "I'm going to Auburn." He woke up, he had a chance to go, and he was there in 25 minutes.
Yep.
He's now saying he may not do anything until after he takes official visit.
Late summer.
Yeah.
He said last Wednesday he was going to do it at the end of March, which I believe Cole was reporting, and I think Keith, you did too.
Yeah. I also added one of the main things I wanted to be clear of, even when I was reporting that. Now, he said that to me. I believed him. His coach told me that as well.
Sure, he was.
But they both said, but I got to see all these schools first. That's number one. And we're going on a tour here. Unofficial visits. I think he's now been to Georgia, Alabama, and Florida. Those are the three others besides Auburn he's been to. And he told me, look, I've never been outside of Auburn. I've never seen these places. So I knew when he told me that, like, okay, you're definitely going to have to see all these places first because they're coming after you pretty hard. Texas A&M's on the list. Clemson's on the list. I think Alabama might get a return visit. So, he when he sees all those places and then maybe he got urged into, hey, why don't you narrow it down to 5, take your official visits, and there you go. So, he's kind of in a hurry at the same time. And I asked him, I said, well, now why the end of March? He goes, I got to get my spot. I got to get my spot somewhere. Yeah. He said for Auburn, they got the jack spot and they don't really have a lot of guys there. They don't want a lot of guys. And that's true. I went to the practice Monday and they only got 4 scholarship players there, 4 or 5, something like that. Every other position's got several walk-ons. This position has those guys. That's it.
Now I'm curious.
Specialized position.
I'm curious to see when Walker White sets his dates, because Jeff reported. Yeah. Jeff reported he's coming twice. So, what dates? And is he waiting to set these dates because Auburn's? I don't know. Again, it's always speculative. Because Auburn's saying, "This is the weekend. We'd like you to come." You know what I mean?
I'm thinking it's going to be March 17th when all those other studs are coming in. I think he's going to come back for A-Day when all those other studs are coming. So that gives us back to the phone
for sure.
Walker White, the big dog. Let's hit the phones real quick, Zach.
4003. You're live. Who are we talking to? Where are you calling from?
Hey guys, this is Carter Malden in Brookhaven, Georgia. I was just calling to talk some recruiting with y'all.
Sweet.
I wanted to get y'all's take on a few guys right now. Where do y'all think that Cam Coleman sits, and when do you think he might be likely to commit? And what are your thoughts on Chance Robinson, the other wide receiver from St. Thomas at Kansas in Florida?
Hey, good stuff, Carter. We appreciate the call. Cam Coleman, we all love Cam Coleman.
Yeah.
I mean, he went from unranked to the number 20 overall recruit and on 3 ranking. He's a future 5-star unless he falls completely out. And he is from down the road in Phoenix City at Central High School, for those that don't follow recruiting as closely as myself and Carter. But Cole, we think Auburn is in a very good I think Auburn's in a very good spot.
I think Keith has talked to both of those guys that he asked about more than I have. But I get the feeling, and we've heard from Coach who calls on the show that, hey, he really favors Auburn. So, again, like the Joseph Phillips thing, this is a guy that's going to go out and see a lot of places during this time period. But, yeah, Keith, you talked to him, right?
Yeah, I think maybe with Cam Coleman, I think it's going to be one of those things where Alabama and Clemson kind of rear their heads a little bit. He's got the 2 former Central Phoenix City receivers, E.J. Williams and Justin Ross, who both went there. And let me just say, we don't ever really know these kids. We know them, but we don't know them. So when we say they're a good kid, it's just based on what we know. But Justin Ross, E.J. Williams were always so easy for us to deal with and pleasant, and he kind of fits that mold. Really smart kid. He talks so fast I can hardly keep up with him. And but I think Auburn, Clemson, Alabama, and maybe FSU as well. I mean, that was Marcus Davis's first 2024 offer when he got to Auburn. I think that means something to Cam Coleman. It obviously means a lot to Auburn. But I don't know. I don't know if he's been on campus yet this year. He keeps saying he's going to visit, but he doesn't know when.
Yeah, no, I know he was at Big Cat Weekend, and then he was there for 2 games.
This year, though.
Yeah, no, he hasn't been back.
He wasn't there for junior day. He didn't come for an unofficial visit any other time that we're aware of.
I don't know what that means. It may not mean anything. It's right down the road. He always says I can go anytime. But, because Auburn hasn't had much luck at that school, part of you wants to believe it, and then the other part of you is like, oh, God, here we go again with Central Phoenix. And you don't know, but he seems like first-class guy. He definitely likes Auburn. He's the tall receiver, we should point out, and he knows.
Oh, yeah.
They've been hammering him on DK Metcalf. That Hugh coached at Ole Miss and all that. Now, Chance Robinson's an interesting one. He's at St. Thomas High School in Fort Lauderdale. Like I said, he said he's going to officially visit Auburn. We'll see. There's no date set or anything like that yet. Likes Marcus Davis a lot. He's FaceTimed a lot with Hugh Freeze. He likes him. That's a county, Broward County, that Auburn's historically done well in. I said, what other schools besides Auburn do you know are probably getting officials? And he said probably Georgia and Penn State. I don't know where he sits on either one of their boards. I mean, I'm assuming he's very high on Penn State's board. Georgia's in another stratosphere right now. So if they have him high and they're recruiting nationally, that should tell you about what they think of him. Georgia's probably going to be heavily involved with Cam Coleman too, I should point out.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think there's any question about that. That's it. Look, that's what you'd love these guys just to turn around and commit to Auburn tomorrow, but to get back, and Jeffrey and I have talked about this, to get back to where Auburn wants and needs to be, you're gonna be in these battle royales. The difference is you hope you start winning them again. Mm-hmm. And if you do, then this is not about me evaluating everybody else. This is about us beating everybody else that they all agreed was a stud. Okay? Mm-hmm. This is no diamond in the rough. This is a guy everybody wants. And I don't think Chance Robinson is quite as – I don't know if it's going to be as much of a feeding frenzy. But if he visits, maybe they'll have a shot. He really likes Marcus Davis a lot. I'll say that.
Hey, let me add something on there. Camden Brown, same high school as Camden Brown, but they're not as close as some people think. I mean, they keep in touch, but Camden's not actively recruiting this guy. He's not all – Keith, did he even mention Camden Brown to you?
No, and I didn't bring him up either because I kind of want them to organically. You don't want to plan. Hey, so tell me, what do you think of Camden Brown? I love Camden Brown. Or how about here's how some people phrase questions. Jeffrey, you and I have been dealing with this for years. So it must be a big deal to you that Camden Brown's at Auburn, huh? You know what I mean? What's he gonna say? And he hasn't brought him up. But he hasn't. I don't know if he's been to Auburn or not. I don't know that if he has, but he says he wants to come up twice. We'll see. If he doesn't come for this spring, then I think you start raising the alarms because a lot of these guys are picking their official visits either like a Southern Cal that they can't just go to on a bus tour. But if it's within 10 hours, you're thinking, okay, well, I need to see the place to know if I want to take an official visit. You know what I mean? So if he visits in the spring, I'll say, okay, Auburn's taking that first step. And now you got the official visit. If he doesn't come this spring, then I'd start to be a little concerned about whether he's going to officially visit or not.
Keith, he told both of us, me and you, that he was going to be at Junior Day, but he was not. I don't know why exactly, but
something came up. I got a hold of him that week. He said something came up. So he has planned before to be at Auburn, and it didn't work out. So I don't know. But he's a good-looking player too, 6'1". Now he's not DK Metcalf size, but he is the identical size of the other receiver that Hugh signed that year at Ole Miss, A.J. Brown, identical frame. So you get Camden Brown and this guy, you got your DK Metcalf. And by the way, that is no stretch because Cam Coleman's testing numbers apparently were off the charts last week in the Georgia Under Armour camp.
He was good.
And DK Metcalf, before he really became a good player, was a test freak. He tested off the charts. Nobody really, he hadn't really done it. Didn't do much his first year at Ole Miss. And then his career sort of took off. So, we all hear great things about Cam Coleman.
We've got one more, Zach.
No, that they hopped off.
Good. Well, not good. Go ahead, Zach. I know you had something on Cam Coleman.
Yeah, with Cam Coleman, because looking after the re-ranking, he exploded last week at the camp. Man, his offers have been flying, and I think in the past week he's gotten Texas, both the Mississippi schools, Tennessee, Colorado. I mean, I think he got 10+ offers last week as soon as he got re-ranked and exploded on that camp scene.
You know what? And hats off to Charles Power and the guys at On 3. They had Cam Coleman moved up to number 20 in the country before that combine. It wasn't public at the time, but they had him number 20 going into that weekend, and he blew up and basically solidified why they had him so high.
I think it was Charles or maybe somebody else that was at the Central Phoenix City IMG Academy game last year that I went to as well and watched Cam, and he was the standout player on both sides. There was no doubt. Of course, You go back 2 years ago, the standout player in the Auburn IMG Academy game was Powell Gordon. So things like that happen sometimes, but Cam Coleman does it consistently, right? He's consistently.
Well, I was actually at IMG 2 weeks. I think it was 2 weeks before they played Central Phoenix City, and I just happened to be in an office, and it had a list of the top guys for Central Phoenix City that they were kind of, these are the guys you got to worry about, and he was pretty far down that list. You know, they weren't, and look, they got some pretty bright people there, and but that's how talented Central Phoenix City was too. So,
yeah, right.
I will say this about Chance Robinson backing up. Things are fluid in recruiting, right? Camden Brown has been in touch with him lately.
Well, then next time I'll have to ask him, hey, I hear Brown's been in touch with you. How great of friends are you? You know?
Yeah, right.
No, this changed in the last 5 minutes. I promise you. He hadn't talked to him.
That St. Thomas is a great program, and I kind of like. Can y'all hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
I kind of like if you can get guys from programs like that injecting that winning mentality. Like Camden Brown ain't used to losing, man. That's not something that guy's going to accept. And I think you can never have too many of those guys if they're talented too. Now, if it's me or Cole out there, you know, it's not as it doesn't mean as much. You know what I mean? But
right.
But,
Keith, were you here for Eddie Grand?
Nah,
Somebody posted under your story, and maybe it was in the comment section on the on our show here. But Eddie Grand, Auburn had a lot of luck with St. Thomas Aquinas back in the day. Whether it was linemen's, I think they had a kicker, Pierre Louis. I think he PPL. You remember Philip Pierre Lewis?
Yeah, small guy.
Yeah.
Lemonier was from South Florida too, right?
Corey, yes. I don't think he was STA. But anyways, Eddie Grant, of course, Eddie Grant in South Florida was fantastic for Auburn. I mean, not just STA. I'm talking Central, Dillard, a lot of those schools down there. Eddie Grant was very good for Auburn, and that continued up through. I mean, Auburn's always had some pretty good luck in South Florida. They had up until the last few years. I mean, you thought Rock Bellantoni was getting in that door, and I have no doubt Reuben Bain signs with Auburn if Rock Bellantoni is still at Auburn. But well, I say no doubts, but his brother.
Where did he end up? Miami?
Yeah, you know where he can't play this year. He has to sit out a year.
Yeah.
Does he really? Oh man.
Yeah, you know, like I always say, the Auburn logo, the Auburn brand is strong down here.
Yeah,
it really is. You know. By the way, I talked to one more guy of note, Jonathan Daniels, the offensive tackle, and I'll have a story on him probably tomorrow. Just a little. He's talking up Auburn a good bit, but we just made him a 5-star. His offer list has exploded, I'd say, in the last 2 weeks as well. Yeah. And I think I felt better about, and I'll get into more of this tomorrow on the site, but subscribers got to come first. But I felt better about Auburn's chances maybe 2 weeks ago than I do now.
Okay.
So, but I that said, and I think you guys agree with me, I feel really good about Auburn's overall prospects at offensive tackle. You got the kid in Virginia that we talked to last week that's going to come down and visit in April. You got Egan Boyer. You got guys all over the South, and yeah, I feel really good about them getting, you know, maybe 3 high school tackles in this class.
Yeah. We cleared our callers, Zach.
Yeah, you want to do a quick lightning round?
Yeah,
I got 10 questions.
Yeah, let's hit them. The chat here has been great, man. SWG Troll 1 is not trolling tonight. He wants to know, do we have any idea who the punter is going to be for next season?
Oscar
Chapman.
Coming back, right?
Yeah, he's there.
Yeah. Oscar from the Aussie Oscar Chapman.
He can boot it too.
Yeah, he can. Holden getting any reps with legit starters, at least scholarship guys. All I've seen is him throwing to walk-ons. We actually saw a clip of him throwing to Javoris Johnson, did we not?
Yeah. I'm going to say this, guys. We got 20 minutes of a practice viewing window on Monday. That's all we've gotten, and it was drills. So, yeah, he was probably throwing to guys like that, but we don't know what he was doing in the team settings. He's getting a legit shot.
On some of the practice videos, my world, Auburn sent out it was holding throwing. I swear it was to Javoris Johnson. So listen, all three of those guys were getting reps, I would imagine, with legit starters. All three of those guys.
Can we get a video of Holden throwing to the clip of Cole running the pass block?
He'd have to put it way out in front because I'm moving, man.
Yeah, the blur. All right, Cole. Here's one for you from a boy, Bow and Arrow, out of E.J. Harris, Colby Smith, Garner. Who do you think can make a push for most playing time for the second-year offensive lineman?
I'll rank them. How about that?
Is Garner second year? Yeah, they're all the same class.
I say in order. I say first is Harris. I think it's in order right there. E.J. Harris, Colby Smith, Garner Langlow.
Okay,
Harris
there you
first. Go. And then Smith, real close to Harris, but I'll give Harris the nod.
That's fair. That's fair. Good stuff, Bo. My world wants to know, yes, Keith, KJ Bolden is visiting Hill. He just told me. I think it's March the 17th. I think it's that scrimmage day.
Is he 25?
KJ Bolden is I think he's a damn near 5-star in the 2024 class.
Yeah, he's
he just Khalil KJ Bolden is visiting March the 17th. He confirmed to me on Friday.
Class of 24, yeah. So that's
Yeah. Now that's a safety, 5-star safety. I do hear again. I had to post this on the message board. I don't know about y'all.
Oh yeah,
I'm a lot of Georgia chatter on that one, man.
Yeah. At this point, you just want to get them on campus, my world, and Auburn's at least going to do that.
That's right.
Sure. Who knows? Zachary Garner wants to know who breakout player of the spring. If we have anybody, it's going to come from what we're hearing, right? Cole, as Cole said, I thought it was 20 minutes each practice goal. It's 20 minutes for a week. So
for
Monday,
the whole week.
Yeah. Monday there will be a 20-minute viewing window of them stretching, doing drills, warming up, and then they'll kick the media out. So it's hard to say. But I mean, just from the limited talks that I had, which was about 15 minutes the other night with some private conversation, I would say Rivaldo Fairweather's got to be in the discussion.
Yeah,
I'm going with you on that. Based on
I think it's two newcomers. If you're talking about offense and defense, I'll go with Fairweather on offense. On defense, I think it's Kane Lee.
Oh,
and I'll give a shout out to old Edward from Selma too. He talked about Caleb Wooden. I see Caleb Wooden having a role.
Yeah, hell yeah, that's who Edward had as one of his three, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Oh, Caleb. Colby had a 4.78 today, I believe. If 4.79, something like that.
Yeah, a couple days ago, he was good. He was very good.
We're going to pose that question next week, Zach. I want some people calling in with some of their picks. I thought Edward had a fantastic call. I think it was 2 weeks ago. My world's back, man. I like this guy. He's inquisitive. Sammy Brown, 2024 linebacker. I'm not familiar with Sammy Brown.
Yeah, I saw him last year, a whole year ago. He was one of the top performers at the Under Armour camp. Probably Clemson there.
Okay. I have not heard him in Auburn circles. Let's put it that way. My world.
Clemson or Georgia, I think. Those are the top two, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that sounds good. Is he from Georgia?
Yeah, that's what On Three says. On Three said Clemson and Georgia are the top two. He's a 5-star linebacker this year.
Okay. Where's he from?
He is from
Jefferson, Georgia.
Oh,
yeah. He's a good player. I don't think Auburn's got any traction there.
Oh, C-Web. Is the Hill kid, is he going to visit? Well, I'm guessing Daniel Hill, the running back?
Yeah. I think he is. He was supposed to be at Junior Day. Another guy that told me, hey, I'll be there at Junior Day and didn't make it for whatever reason. I think he'll probably – I've been trying to get in touch with him. Haven't had any luck. So I would say probably, but we don't know.
What they mean the quarterback, the 2025 quarterback, Antoine Hill?
Is he from Mississippi?
Oh, Mississippi. I can't see the thing. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
D wants to know from the players currently on the roster, who could be the next superstar? Superstar in all caps. I'm personally saying Keldrick Falk. I don't think you'll get any. You see Zach and Cole, they're big on Mr. Falk. The next superstar for Auburn. Superstar.
Well, my pick's not on the roster yet. Technically, he will be in the summer. I'll stay consistent.
Neither is Keldrick Falk, D.
No, he's there.
Yeah.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh,
he's one of those.
Bad look for OJ Lee, D.
He's one of those 4 or 5 jacks. He's playing jack linebacker. No, my pick is Deron Reed. I'm going to stay consistent with
There's your boy. Superstar.
I'm going to
Superstar.
say, I'll say out of the freshmen, Kay and Lee.
Yeah, or Fairweather again. Kind of same.
Yeah, I didn't want to say him again for the fourth time in a row.
And on the team, I just continue to hear so much about how much everybody loves Jarquez Hunter. So
that's a good
maybe
pick.
Hey, that was my. And I was going to say, Cole, do you think DJ James is in this discussion?
Oh yeah, I think he's a draft pick, an early draft pick. So yeah, okay. I thought of a couple more here. DJ James. I am ready to see Damari Austin. I'm ready to see him. I think he could be superstar level. I really do. And I'll go with Dylan Wade at left tackle.
And by the way, nobody's mentioned.
Good one.
Nobody's mentioned. I'll throw in another one. Maybe the best one of them all, Keontae Scott.
Ooh, that's a great pick. Yeah,
we've named about half the team, by the way. But
the chat, we have Tolan from Blake Robinson. He's going with Tolan. We also got a Jeremiah Cobb, even though he's
Cobb.
Is he there right now?
Not yet, but
not yet.
But yeah, so those were the two that we put in the chat. I think Jeremiah Cobb's going to be big. We got Duron Reed too, so
there it is.
Okay, I was and that's a great the superstar to me was. What first round draft picks do you see on Auburn's team right now or in the future?
First round?
That's my definition of superstar, D. So superstar being first round draft picks. Are all those guys we just talked about potential first round draft picks?
I think DJ James,
Keontae Scott.
I don't know if DJ James has the measurables, but Keontae Scott might if he can make it that far. Now DJ James is kind of like Roger McCreary. He might fall out of the top, 32 just because a little bit smaller, may not have the numbers.
I got another one for you. What if is Jalen Simpson a high round pick at a new position with his measurables? And I think wasn't he the first or second fastest guy on the team last year?
Yeah, he's got the measurables. Let me tell you, you know how there's always like one guy, y'all have been around it long enough to realize that a guy comes in and you see him and you're like, kind of looks like a young kid. And then when they're a senior, whoa, that is a total transformation. To me, that's Jalen Simpson. He looks different. He looks totally different than what he used to look like. He's bulked up. I think he's in for a big year. That was a good pick.
So I got a plan for next week. It's Jeff's show. So if he's okay, maybe we could post our freshman college picks and our senior college picks. I don't even know if I have them.
Dude.
First of all, my transformation's not over.
I was rocking the comb over as a freshman.
Mine was over a few more than 4 years, by the way, but that's another story.
Yeah, mine was about 6.5.
So does that change your answers if I substitute the next first round?
Definitely.
First round draft pick for Auburn.
It's tough to project the freshman as first because we haven't even seen them play.
But I still wouldn't argue with D about Keldrick Falk being a potential first round draft pick.
I really could.
But you got to have the measurables. Yeah, that's number one. You're not going to be a first round draft pick without them. Yeah, and that's what a lot of people got upset about with the last staff or whatever. They were real big on measurables, and that's a big deal in college. But you're going to have plenty of good players that help you win that may not be a first round draft pick, right?
That's a great question, D. That's a great question. Appreciate you, man. OC Webb's back. We bring in a red shirt freshman transfer QB. Does that scare off Walker White? I don't think so.
No, I wouldn't. I'd be shocked if it did.
That dude seems locked in to me.
Well, yeah. If you brought in a redshirt freshman transfer, they almost certainly would have been a backup at their other school. Right. So they wouldn't have too much of a head start, let's say.
It wouldn't do much for Auburn anyways, would it?
Yeah.
You've got Walker White coming in. What's that guy? Unless you said you want to add somebody and hopefully run him off if he doesn't work out.
Unless they, if he goes to fall camp and beats out, Robbie Ashford and all those guys, and that would be a different ball game, maybe, but I still don't see it.
Now, if that happens, you're going to lose.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. If that happens, you're going to lose probably Robbie Ashford and TJ Finley.
Yeah,
so you're probably going to need a
one of them at least.
Potentially, you could lose two of the guys after spring practice. You may not lose any, but you probably at least one, maybe the worst case scenario two. In which case, I think you brought it up, Jeffrey, earlier. Maybe at that point you do. Hey, here's a guy that's going to push for the starting job, and here's a second guy that was at Kent State last year, and he just wants to be a backup because he wants to be a coach.
Yeah.
And he wants to learn from Philip Montgomery. And there's a lot of those guys out there too. But a guy that could be an emergency player against when you play, Wofford,
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, one more guy. It just hit my mind. I'm sorry. Jeffrey Emba. He's got the measurables. He's got the talent. Can he put it together and be one of those
I
top
would like to see that.
high round draft picks? Yeah. He's
Would like to see him. He's a good
impressive.
dude.
Develop a lot. Like, I mean, he's got to take a massive step
I
forward.
agree.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And then
But he's got the measurables.
this
My
is a
world,
good one. This will be the last
yeah.
one, but
All right, my world. Who's y'all's top 5 wants for the 2024 class? Keith, let's put ourselves in the mind of an Auburn fan. Okay, if you're an Auburn fan and you have the knowledge that you have as a reporter and the access that you do, if you're an Auburn fan, Keith, who are your top 5 wants for the 2024 class? I'll say Cam Coleman. Everybody wants Cam Coleman.
Yeah, he's in there.
Hell, I would want the big offensive tackle. What's his name? You just talked about, Keith. Daniel Calhoun.
Jonathan Daniels.
Oh yeah.
I'll take Daniel Calhoun then.
Okay. Good pick.
I got to think about this.
Give me Jamonte Waller.
I'll take Joseph Phillips. 100%.
Joseph Phillips will be on there. DeMarcus Riddick.
Oh yeah, Riddick.
Yeah, I'm gonna say some of these in-state kids would be where I would start. Jeremiah Beeman.
yeah.
Oh, we had this. We already talked about this Friday, and then we're.
So to me, you don't have to worry about the quarterback. So Cam Coleman would be one, and then the other 4 spots, I would go O-line, D-line, and wouldn't even. Those would be my priorities.
I'd go. I want to throw Jalen Crawford in there from Parkview because if DJ James and Nehemiah Pritchett and Jalen Simpson are all gone, that corner room's kind of thin right now. He might be an early impact guy.
I'm going to stay on brand here. I'm still going to put Burnett in mine. I want
nice
running back. I really do.
You love him.
I do. I like his film. And Auburn had massive success at running back with guys his size. I'm with it.
He's I don't know why I'm hesitant on him. It's not like I've studied his film or anything. And I think we talked about this too. I sometimes view guys on how easy their recruitments are to cover.
Yeah, right.
And he's kind of been difficult. So sometimes I just want to say, screw you, big dog. So I do take it personally sometimes.
Now, who's his teammate in Andalusia? Landon Marshall, the defensive line?
Yeah.
Somebody told me today the word is that those two are trying to play together.
Yeah, and he doesn't have an Auburn offer yet, Landon. Yeah. But I mean, he's just added Texas, Penn State. I mean, he's kind of moving up, and he was at the junior day. We'll see what happens there. He could be a late offer guy.
Can I ask you guys y'all's opinion on a guy? A guy who's kind of been on my radar the past week or two is Zaquan Patterson. I think he's down from Miami.
Yeah, I just talked to him today.
Chaminade Madonna.
Mm-hmm.
He's an interesting player because he's an in-the-box safety, right, Cole, would you say?
Yeah.
Saquon Patterson. And I think I have to go through my notes. I'm going to be writing about him tomorrow or Tuesday, Jack, so I don't want to give everything away. But I wasn't sure whether he was still talking to the new Auburn staff because the old staff was hot and heavy off of him. His 7-on-7 team has some ties to Auburn. But he said, yes, he is. He absolutely still talking to the new staff, and he wants to visit, but he didn't have a date. So,
because I like his film. I think that would be a huge pickup.
What's that?
My world,
he would be a huge pickup if Auburn could land him. I like his film, and I think he's real talented.
Okay.
Yeah, he is. He's a good
my
player.
world, my picks would be Cam Coleman, Daniel Calhoun, just because he's the big or any stud offensive tackle. That's the name off the top of my head. Jeremiah Beeman, Jamonte Waller. And then I like Riddick, Joseph Phillips at linebacker. And I tell you what, as a stud safety like the Hayward kid and flipping him from Georgia, if I'm an Auburn fan, those are some of the guys that would make up my top 5 wants. And I'm probably forgetting a guy or two, but those are.
And Jeffrey, like I said, he snuck in. The Hayward kid snuck in to visit the Gainesville yesterday that people didn't want. What does that mean? Maybe he's open. There's some thought that he's going to take visits to a bunch of schools. Maybe he's open. Auburn might have a shot. And they've signed guys from that's the Space Coast area, Cole, Rockledge, Cocoa, Jamel
Rockledge,
Yep, Jamel. Wasn't Carlton Davis was from
You know, Octavius Brothers was from Rockledge, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. Yeah. Raheem Sanders, Rocket Sanders, the Arkansas running back that Auburn could have had.
Wasn't it Ladarius Tennyson?
Right?
Tennyson was from Lockridge. Yeah,
yeah,
he sure was.
Yeah.
It's a very underrated area. And if you go back years down that, there's about 1.5 million people that live between Titusville and just south of Melbourne. But yes, Auburn's got they got a little traction over there. So we'll see.
Excellent stuff, my world. Good stuff. We appreciate all the callers. Go ahead.
Jerry Tennyson was from there too.
Yeah, that's what we said. LT.
Oh, I
he was now at Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Ole Miss. Transferred to Ole Miss.
He's a good player too. He's a good player over there.
Fantastic questions tonight. Fantastic calls. Johnny Caldwell ×2. Mike and Carter. We're gonna be back next week. A lot to this week will be a little bit slower. Like I said, Auburn's off this week. We don't expect a lot of recruiting action going on this week. So everybody take a deep breath this week. Get ready for that next week because it's going to be big. One more time for people looking to buy or sell in Auburn, Opelika, and Lee County, give Jessica Andrews with the Talons Group a call, 334-704-4442. I gave her the thumbs up on her picture down there, so I feel like I did a really good job on that. She can sell it. She'll find you a home to buy. Residential, she does some investment properties to an extent, but a 5-star stud selling agent. Jessica Andrews with the Talents Group, 334-704-4442. Appreciate you guys listening. We appreciate y'all watching. We will be back Monday morning. Me and Keith will with Inside the 20. And again, Wednesday morning, then we'll be back with a recruiting show on Friday. So we'll still be cranking out content. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Thanks, everybody, for watching. For Keith, for Zach in the back, for Pink, and for Justin. We appreciate it, man. I'm Jeffrey Lee, man. Y'all stay at that left lane, Johnny Caldwell. See ya.